Before we get started with the Sales Integrity Podcast, if you haven't already signed up for our free video email course titled 7 Steps to Master the Game of Complex Technical Selling, then you'll want to do so right away. If you're listening on your phone, then simply text the word SI Course to the number 44222 or visit mastercomplexsales.com. Again, text the word SI as in sales integrity, so SI course, which is all one word with no spacing at all, to the number 44222 or visit mastercomplexsales.com. Now let's get started with the podcast. Hello, sales achievers. Welcome to the Sales Integrity Podcast. I'm Sean Pickett, founder and CEO of Sales Integrity, a sales coaching services provider, and also the founder of my coach site, a coaching enablement software provider. This podcast is all about helping sales professionals, leaders, and organizations with a complex technical B2B sale to increase sales and earn more money, period. Today is Tuesday, and that can only mean one thing here on the Sales Integrity Podcast. It's Technique Tuesday. Each Tuesday, I will teach you one technique you can immediately apply to your sales game. Many of them I'll draw from our Sales Achievement Framework selling system, which includes the use of social selling techniques and other more unconventional methods. So get ready to translate the ideas you hear today into actionable tasks you can execute in the real world of selling tomorrow. Now, without further ado, let's get today's episode rocking and rolling. Hello and welcome to this week's Technique Tuesday episode. Today we pick up where we left off yesterday, talking about professional persistence. Except today we're going to do more than just talk about it. Since it's Technique Tuesday and we focus on taking action and executing tactics on Technique Tuesdays, I'm going to provide some suggestions to apply the power of professional persistence within your sales game to win more business. So, how do I tactically apply the power of professional persistence as a B2B tech sales professional, you might ask? Well, seeing that the average sale occurs between the 7th and 12th touch point in the complex technical B2B sales market, according to many studies, including that Microsoft study I shared last week on Friday, that means you should think through it all ahead of time. What I mean is that you need to create enough value-added touch points that will get you deep into that range of 7 to 12 touch points when approaching brand new target market prospects. If you recall from the Microsoft study, 50% of all salespeople give up after the first contact. 65% give up after contact number 2. 79% give up after contact number 3. And a whopping 89% give up after contact number 4. What I didn't share on that previous podcast is the rest of that study. I saved that for today. You see, the study goes on to say that after contact number 5, you are now just becoming a factor in your prospect's mind. After contact number 6, you are nurturing the relationship slowly as your prospect is now getting to know you. After contact number 7, you are earning top-of-mind awareness. And after contact number 8, you're probably the only person to make 8 contacts with this person. This is all according to that study. Now, after contact number 9, when your prospect is ready to buy, you have a 90% chance of being called. And somewhere between contact number 9 and contact number 12 is when they transition from prospect to becoming your customer, all because you were professionally persistent. Fascinating study, isn't it? Now, all you have to do is become one of the smart sales professionals who have their touch points mapped out for months in advance to take advantage of such knowledge. Now that you know all of that, it is up to you to A, not give up, knowing most all of your competitors will give up at some point between touch points number 1 and 4, and B, create some valuable content, what I like to call tangible value assets that you can provide with each touch point to ensure you are seen as credible to your prospects every time you reach out to them. Now, let's unpack that last point just a bit to get down to the tactical part of today's episode. First, you should grab a piece of paper or open up a Word doc and write out or type out the numbers 1 through 10 down the left-hand column. Then you're going to conduct a brainstorming exercise for what each touch point will look like in terms of communication or outreach method. Then finally, you will couple each touch point with a value-focused asset for your prospect to evaluate or to think about, especially if they are not ready to buy just yet or even aware that they have a need just yet. And that is who we're focused on here today. Target market prospects you are reaching out to from a prospecting perspective, not actively engaged prospects who already agreed to receive a proposal from you within a live sales cycle. Make sense? So, given that, in terms of the numbers 1 through 10, those represent each touch point between initial outreach for contact number 1 through contact number 10. This dramatically increases your odds of receiving a call or an inbound inquiry when your prospect is ready to engage. In terms of the brainstorming exercise, you're going to determine a method for your outreach for each individual touch point. Now, a touch point means contact and contact means touch point for the sake of this exercise. So those are one and the same. Your touch points should involve a mix of using the phone to call them, sending emails, using social selling tactics like sending them in-mails within LinkedIn, and even strategic networking with contacts in your network who can facilitate introductions to your prospects, whether in person or at an event, or even via email or even an in-mail. Now, there's enough methods here that I just listed that if used properly over a period of 6 months, and if alternated enough between communication methods, that's going to get you to contact number 10, if the prospect hasn't already engaged in a sales cycle with you. So you should spread out the touch points over time and not try to get all 10 touch points in during 1 week or even 1 month for that matter. You need to be realistic by understanding that things change, in a well-placed call, email, or in-mail at the right time could take advantage of the right place, right time, Johnny-on-the-spot serendipity approach that sometimes occurs while selling. Furthermore, by demonstrating professional persistence with value-added touch points over the course of time, such as 6 months, for instance, you will show that you are consistent and dependable to your prospects, even if you haven't spoken to them just yet. Believe me, they notice, especially when it comes time for them to reach out to a company to help them with a strategic initiative at the right time in the future. This is akin to the flyer in your mailbox you receive each month from your local neighborhood realtor. You aren't always in the market to sell your house, but when it comes time to sell, you will immediately think of that realtor who kept in touch with you all those years. This is known as geographical farming in the residential real estate profession. In the complex technical B2B sales profession, that same phenomenon could be applied in what's known as either nurture marketing or drip marketing. Now, one thing to keep in mind is that not all touch points will actually provide a tangible value asset, such as a case study, white paper, one-page executive brief, or video for that matter. However, all touch points should point to value. Let me provide one example before we end today's episode. Let's say one of your touch points is to cold call an executive. And let's say you're going to use a case study where your company helped a similar customer to that executive's company address an issue that you know is fairly common for that industry. Well, you can't really send a case study over the phone, for instance, but you can either talk through it if you get them in a live conversation, which will only happen about 5% of the time, or quickly allude to it in a voicemail, which will occur 95% of the time. Now, keep in mind what I just said, that nearly 95% of all calls to executives will go to voicemail, yet 95% of salespeople refuse to leave voicemails for fear of wasting a touch point. I hear this all the time when I'm coaching sales professionals in the tech industry. And let me tell you, that's a huge mistake. This is a golden opportunity missed. You have a chance to communicate you and your brand to the executive through a well thought out and well spoken professional voicemail message. I always like to say that if a salesperson calls a prospect and doesn't leave a voicemail, then does that salesperson really exist in the prospect's mind? Nope. Give yourself a chance to at worst have your message listened to, and at best receive a call back. Both of those scenarios are off the table if you just hang up without leaving a voicemail message. Believe me, executives don't get back or sit down in between meetings and quickly scan through their caller ID to see who they missed a call from and who didn't leave a voicemail. They're just far too busy for that. So you'll get on their radar more by leaving a voicemail. So given that, you should always leave a voicemail. That should be part of your plan. Again, other reps give up too soon and other reps don't leave voicemails. So when they zig, you should zag. Now, as we wrap up today's episode, let me provide you a quick dialogue talk track of a voicemail I would leave if I were calling a software sales executive named Michael, for instance, just making that up, about my sales coaching services. This is what I would say. Hello, Michael. This is Sean Pickett with Sales Integrity. You can reach me at 214-516-7983. Michael, I know you're busy, so I'll get right to the point. We specialize in helping sales executives at software companies to shorten the ramp-up time of new hires by 50% and increase company sales by 25% after working with us for a year. We have helped your peers at companies such as XYZ Software and ABC Software achieve these results, and I'd like to share with you exactly how we did so in case you are seeking similar results. I will also send you an email to get introduced in case that is an easier mode of communication for you. Otherwise, you can call me back at 214-516-7983 and we can have a brief phone conversation. Thank you, Michael, and make it a great day. Now, as you can hear, that was a message where I pointed towards a tangible value asset such as the case study. I would walk him through with the information he would most likely be interested in hearing. All of this takes research and time spent up front understanding the target market, preparing the appropriate messaging, and creating the tangible value assets. However, I don't have time to walk you through the entire process in doing so today as we are out of time. I hope that today's topic caused you to rethink your sales game in terms of how you will apply professional persistence in an organized, systematic sales messaging approach to prospecting. Now, let's wrap up today's episode with a few quick reminders. All right, we are in week 3 here of the new Sales Integrity podcast. Thank you to everyone who's provided positive ratings and reviews on iTunes, as well as just have sent me some personal notes through either email or just giving me a call to let me know what you think about the podcast. Thanks for all the feedback that you provided on helping me improve the podcast. Hopefully, the audience is starting to notice I'm trying to be more succinct and have the episodes be a little bit shorter. That was one of the feedback that I provided early on. So I'm going to keep trying to do that for you, but I still want to make sure I'm adding value as well. So hopefully you're seeing both succinct to the point, but also it's a value-driven podcast episodes. That leads me to my first reminder. If you have any ideas on what you want me to cover here on the podcast, you get a sense now of what the show's about after 2 weeks, please send those directly to me. You can use the email address asksean@salesintegrity.com. So ask as in asking a question, and then I spell Sean the Irish way, S-E-A-N. So asksean@salesintegrity.com. Go ahead and just send me some ideas on what you want me to cover on the show, or you can even ask questions, and I'll keep it anonymous if you want, or I could say your name if you want. So just let me know that in the email. So that's reminder number 1. Reminder number 2, we created a B2B tech sales professionals group, one on LinkedIn, one on Facebook. So go join the conversations there. It's a great way to connect with like-minded sales professionals in your industry. And then you could also submit questions there or ideas for what you want me to have on the podcast. I take a look at it there as well. And then next, if you haven't subscribed to the free 7-day video email course, you'll want to do so. It provides you 7 specific tips or tactics, actually, that you can customize for what you're selling and immediately apply it in the real world of sales. So it's titled 7 Steps to Master the Game of Complex Technical Selling. You can sign up for that. Again, it's free. You can sign up for that at mastercomplexsales.com or by texting the word SI course to the number 44222. And then finally, if you haven't subscribed to the podcast on iTunes or SoundCloud, please go ahead and do so. If you're on iTunes, I realized through the feedback I heard from others that they said they were trying to give me a rating in a review, but they couldn't figure out how to do so. Once I dug into it, it's not so simple. What you want to do is when you're on your iPhone, you're in the podcast app, you can't give a review directly in the podcast. I'm not sure why they don't allow it, but they don't. So what you want to do at the bottom, you'll see the search button. Click on that search button, type in Sales Integrity with a space in the middle, Sales Space Integrity. My podcast will be the first one that comes up. Click on that, and then you'll see the reviews tab. Just click on that, and that's where you can put your review in there. And a 5-star rating and a simple 1 to 2 sentence review would be greatly appreciated. And that will do it for today's episode. Now go out there in the sales world today and help your prospects and customers buy what they want, what they need, and what benefits them. And most importantly, go out there and make it a great day.